Welcome to Winterberg in Germany's Hochsauerland, colloquially known as the Dutch Alps, as winter has arrived here, ready for race 4 of the BMW IBSF World Cup campaign. And we're into the second heat of the women's bobsleigh competition. Martin Haven and John Morgan trackside watching a fascinating first encounter.
Well, there's the normal cast of characters here. Kelly Humphreys, Melissa Loholtz. They've won 2 of the 3 events so far. Didn't have a very good exit of curve 1, but early on, she was flying on the bottom part of the track, posted some great speed. She's got herself in a bronze medal position, and the coaches were happy with that. And then a little bit of a surprise here, Jamaica and Drazik from Germany. Well, this young German pilot has been coming on, getting better. Had some problems down at curve 9. Otherwise, she probably would have been the leader. Great start times from these German athletes. In fact, the best start in the first heat. They've got themselves in a silver medal position, but Christine Schneider, Lisa Buchholz. You know, this is another great starting team. This driver used to be a brakeman on the German championship teams, and now she's in the front seat, and wow, great first run. She's got herself in a gold medal position. She's got a 1 bronze medal so far this year in Lake Placid. It was her first. Pretty impressive start by the Germans. Pretty impressive storyline all the way down here, Martin.
Yeah, look at the top 4 covered by 1300. So from silver to 4th, 200ths of a second. Katrin Beil, the 2nd of the Austrian sleds. And for Jamaica, Jasmine Fenlater Victorian in a great 5th position ahead of local girl Anna Kola. Well, there was a snowstorm at the beginning of the first run, and that hindered some of the earlier starters who find themselves way down at the bottom of the draw. 20th place, Misha McNeil makes the cut, but Christine de Bruyne does not. Neither do the 2 early starting Japanese Maria Oshigiri and Anomi Asazu.
Big story though, the Americans didn't have their sleds the whole week. They were stuck in customs. That's another whole story. Yep. They trained in British and Japanese. They just borrowed sleds and equipment from everybody, and their first runs with their sleds were in this morning's first heat.
Yeah, same with Alicia Rissling for Canada. Didn't get her sled back until last night, 23 hours before the race. And so, yeah, they were borrowing sleds and helmets and spikes and training suits and track suits. And the American girls, all their bags, like Alana Myers-Taylor, were in the sled crate. So they had no clothes other than what they traveled in, you know.
So it was a tough week for the U.S.
Really was, and for the Canadians as well. But here you go. Here's our start list for the second draw. We go 20 down to 1 in reverse order of their first heat performance. So Misha McNeil and Mika Moore go off first. And they really ran into the snow and the wind of the first heat. The track definitely got faster later on in the draw. And in fact, outside the top 3 or 4, there are no early starters at all until you get down to Jamie Grubel-Poser. She's the best of the early starters. She went off 6th, and she is in 9th position rather, after the first heat. So getting ready for race 4 of the BMW IBSF women's bobsleigh competition to continue the second and deciding heat. 20 sleds in the competition, the first of whom on ice is Great Britain's Misha McNeil and Mika Moore. Misha, a medalist in the first ever Youth Olympic Games in women's bobsleigh, and Misha and her brakewoman Mika, the reigning junior world champions. They claimed the title on this track last year.
Misha had some problems getting in the sled in the first heat, getting in the first curve. When the driver gets in before the brakeman, that's not how to do it. This is much cleaner. She's tied for 6th in World Cup points with 2 other teams, and her best finish of the season, 5th place in Whistler the last time out. This is a very slow track up top, Martin, and no mistakes allowed.
Climbing over the brow there in corner 4, and then dropping down into turn 5. And this is where you start to build speed. You drop about 4 stories in turn 5.
The Kreisel, 270-degree whip around. You exit underneath where you came into the curve, and this is where you start to motor 70. This is the pivotal part of the track. Curve 9, a lot to do with your speed down here, which approaches 80 miles an hour. 2 little labyrinth curves down here. That nice smooth for Misha McNeil, 129.7. That is 80.6 miles an hour. Yeah. That's better speed than she had in the first run.
But a slower start and a slower drive. 58.55 downtime in the first heat, 58.72. I thought we might see them go quicker, but she didn't get in cleanly again, got her feet hooked up. Last time she got her knees hooked up on the cowl.
That start time was way off the pace.
Well, maybe they're being a little cautious.
Watch the back end of the sled here. This is a skid going into the Kreisel. They'll show us a lot of those pictures. You have to have a clean entrance on the take-on, and then watch the sled going around. You just want to stay in the lines.
Well, they won't drop any lower than 20th place, but I'm not sure that's going to be enough to move them up. Maria Fonteneve and new brakewoman Irina Strebel, who's only started in November in bobsled. Fonteneve making her first World Cup appearance of the season. She's been racing in the second tier of sliding, the Europa Cup.
12th best start, the first heat, that was pretty good. 5:82, pretty similar to her first run, and much better start times than she had when we saw her last year. And her brakeman making her World Cup debut. Strebel's a track and field background.
Martina was second out of the start shed, really pushed off into the teeth of the snowstorm. This is only her 4th ever career World Cup start.
And there's a race within a race amongst the Swiss sleds. The Swiss most likely will only qualify one sled for the Olympic Games. Her teammate coming up. Two sleds later, that's who she's racing against.
And we're seeing changes in the men's team lineup as well to try and make sure that Switzerland qualify
Watch
2
out,
sleds.
same problem she had in the first heat, really high, but she didn't have the same exit issues in this heat that she did in going into the finish like she did in the first run.
Yeah, it didn't
58-17.
That's a much better run.
31/100ths better.
Much better run from her. There's her that's her alternate brakewoman who is at the back there with Wolfgang Stampfer in the coach's box.
Boy, that shows you some great improvement. 3/10 better.
Well, like you said, she still had that high-wide beginning to the labyrinth, but this time it didn't catch her by surprise, and she was all over it.
She probably was the worst exit down in the labyrinth of any sled in the first run. This little tap here doesn't sound like much, but that pushes you in the curve, and you have to come out late. And there she is on the exit of the curve, a second hit and late. And this is up top, where the up in the middle part of the track where the speeds are slow. Then the sled gets away from her down here. 2 consecutive heats. She's been up there in the frost.
She's half a sled higher than anyone else.
Anybody else.
Sandra Kirias is down at the bottom in the bobble hat. She's coaching the Jamaicans. Oh, did I let that out? Yes, Jamaica have returned. We'll see them late on in the run.
We'll see Jamaicans in 5th place, which is...
Brittany Reinbold, glad to have her sled back. It turned up last night, and she's got rookie brakewoman Maureen Ajoku behind her, making her first ever World Cup appearance.
From San Jose, California, University of California, Santa Barbara, athlete, track and field. 589, boy, that's not the same start. Did 578 in the first run.
1100 slower.
1100 slower. That is going to really challenge Brittany, who didn't have her sled all week.
Yeah.
1300s down. She's going to have to be perfect. You heard the tap there.
She had a British sled, Monaco runners. She borrowed spikes from the Belgians, helmets from the Germans, tracksuit from someone else.
Boy, she's going to fall back at least one sled.
Yeah.
Fonteneve
had a really good second trip.
Yeah, but the start time, surprise. I don't know what happened there, but to be a 10th slower in the start, especially when she went early when the start track was snowier up there in the first run, she should have been improved or stayed the same. To be a 10th down, something wrong. Boy, she's quarter down. She's almost
coming back a little bit at the bottom, but not enough.
58.46. She goes 500 slower, and Martina lives in the leader's box.
Well, Brittany's just glad to have her sled back.
Yeah,
saw her up at the top of the track earlier, just hugging it.
that 1000's worse at the start. Cost them dearly.
So she slips to second in the current standings. There's Maureen, her brakewoman.
Well, she's pretty happy that she got down. What happened here?
I wonder if they just didn't get the hit off the block, synchronized. It's the first time they've run and pushed together in this sled.
Watch her arms come up. Mo is her nickname. Both hands. Very good technique for a rookie. Long arms and up and in. And I don't know what happened there, but they were 10th slower. And then this, that little skid there.
Look at all the snow she's digging with the runners
there. There's a lot there. Yeah. So bad start, bad exit of the zero curve. That zero curve is a nemesis.
We saw some Canadians hanging out down at the bottom. They're waiting for this lady to come down, Alicia Rissling, with Heather Moyse, the reigning double Olympic champion with Kaylee Humphries. Heather Moyse, this is her first race since gold in Sochi nearly 4 years ago. And recovering from a major hip surgery after the Games. She did 1 day of training, took 2 days off to recover, so she'd be fit to race.
581 start. Rissling usually has a single-digit placing at the start. They were 12th in the first run. Moyse, very quiet, deliberate. Good exit there, much better. So they went 300s better. Brittany Reinbold went 1,200 slower.
The first day of training was the first time Heather Moyse has actually pushed a sled and loaded into it. She did a couple of days in the ice house in Calgary. That's all.
Heather Moyse, besides being a double Olympic gold medalist, inducted in the World Rugby Hall of Fame in 2016. Tells you the type of athlete she is.
Superstar athlete, isn't she? A real touchstone as well for Canadian women's bobsledding with Kaylee.
Good exit, good lines here in the 9. This is the speed part of the track. Rissling, third in the World Cup pre-Olympic test in Korea last year. She's late. She was late on the exit of 10. The speed way off. 2 kilometers down, 1.5 miles down to the Swiss sled.
58.09, that's 3100ths faster than her first run,
though. The Swiss sled, she went 3/10 faster.
Yeah.
But, hey,
well, they were all off early, these girls, in the snowstorm.
And plus, she didn't get her sled till now.
Till last night.
So
it was an early Christmas present because they'd sort of given up hope of them ever appearing. They were in that lost in translation limbo.
Watch this late, see the sled flops there, and then she's forced to skid into that next curve, and watch the sled split the articulation here and bang. And this is going into an uphill section of the finish curve, and I see she's going in on the finish curve's terms and not where she wants to get on, and that's going into an uphill section. 2 kilometers down in speed cost her a lot of time, even though she's the leader.
Bob track music, can't beat it. Bit of AC/DC to welcome Nadezhda Sergeyeva of Russia, the 5th of our 20 starters in the second heat. Yulia Shoksheva behind her, and Sergeyeva's just kind of lost the edge that she had last season when she was comfortably the better of the Russian athletes.
5th in the World Cup in Whistler last time out. The drifts there aren't going to help her.
Well, that was back to where she should be. She was 11th and 15th in the 2 North American races. But she says Whistler and Altenburg, her absolute favourite tracks. And we go to Altenburg right after the Christmas break.
She finished 4th here last year, didn't she?
Yeah, she had a really good run. It was her career high, 4th place in the World Cup.
So she's been coming on, but not the results in the first part of the year that she wanted. And she's 1100ths down here. It's going to be tough to find 1100ths in the bottom part of this track, even though it's really fast, 80 miles an hour down here.
And Martina Fontenev is only 1600ths off the lead, so she's in danger of dropping 2 spots to 3rd position. And she's second of the line just.
So the Canadians, they could live there a little bit.
They could do. Well, Winterberg celebrating its 40th anniversary tomorrow. The Bob Club actually founded back in 1910. John, they've been sliding down this valley for about a century.
Some great pictures up top. There's a Bob Cafe right on top of the track. Some great old historical pictures. And look at how high she jumped, get in the sled. Everybody's got a different technique. The brakeman didn't come over with both arms. You want to have a good cohesion. Look at the aerodynamic profile of the brakeman, though, getting down as low as she can. Up top here, she's 4.5. This setup here, look at that. She gets pushed over because she gets on too early.
Well, there she is with our arch #1 Russian fan. He'll be at all the European races. Well, next up is the second of the Austrian sleds. This is Christina Hengster, her teammate, a long way up the order.
Her teammate crushed her at the start, almost 20/100ths better at the start. And Christina, a skid there, 586, pretty similar to the first run.
Gets away with that. But she had 0, no problem.
On a scale of 1 to 10, eliminating the start, she probably had the best drive down the track we saw of anybody in the first run. But the start, the 20th best start time, Pretty tough to do anything on a track that's 1,400 meters, 1,200 plus meters in length.
200s behind Alicia Rissling at the last split. 100th, here we go. She had a really neat and tidy run, but so did her teammate off a rocket sledge start.
Green numbers. Ooh, might have mistaken a 9. Tapped. That's going to cause some extra steering and see if it costs her. Now look at the sled on and off the curves.
Half a mile an hour quicker than the fastest so far.
Yeah, best speed of anybody so far, near 130 kilometers. That's 80 plus miles an hour. 58.03. She's 2,800ths better. And Hengster is driving one of the better sleds in the field, but her start time in the 20th rank going to be pretty tough for her to get into the top 10 with that type of start.
Her old sled, Betsy the Beast, was really a rocket ship. Not sure what the new one's called.
Well, watch the entry in the sled here. It's Sana Decker, one of the more experienced brake. Look at the arms come up together. Look at her get down. Look at the drift there, though.
Just got away with it, didn't she?
Could have been more of a disaster than that, and there's no skid out of 1.
And actually, that's a great
look at this tap here.
Yeah.
Now watch, she comes into the middle and forces her to extra steer in 9, but best speed of anybody.
Top 5 down. Misha McNeil started the heat, but Christina Hengster leads it now. Russia's Alexandra Rodionova at the start line. Race 4 of the BMW IBSF Women's Bobsleigh World Cup in Winterberg, Germany. Martin Haven and John Morgan with you. And with Alexandra is Anastasia Kotsetsova, her brakewoman.
Tallest brakewoman in the field.
And these girls lying in 14th place after the first heat, just 600ths ahead of Christina Hengster of Austria, the current leader.
There's a race within a race here amongst the Russians who will emerge as the best Russian team.
She was 900ths of a second quicker than her teammate Sergeva.
Much better start time, 500ths better, and then also 500ths better than her teammate who had the same start both runs, 81.
Her teammates dropped to 3rd place in the current standings.
Well, pretty clean up top. This is the former luge Olympic athlete, probably been down the track 5 times more in luge than she has in a bobsled. So she knows the ice.
2200ths ahead of Christina Hengster, but that's come down from 2400ths.
Hengster was pretty much perfect. Now it's down to 15.
Ooh, it's coming down.
It's going to be close.
Well, it's a tidy drive.
Hengster had 129.9 kilometers, 80.6 miles an hour. Lesser speed should be enough, single digits.
Yeah, she'll have the lead at the line.
That's 10. So the Austrians are gone. There's Mr. Zukov on the left.
So she was 900ths up after the first heat. She added 100th of a second over Christina Hengster.
It's a pretty good result considering she crashed in training on Wednesday. Not the only person crashing in training. Canadian Justin Cripps.
Well, Cripps, unusual to see him crashing.
Well, this is down on the speed part of the track and a little bit of tap on the exit and entrance into the finish. And ooh, look at the airborne. See, she hit right in the takeout of that finish curve, and the back left runner came off the ice.
Did well to hang on. Alexandra Rodionova is our race leader. 13th after the first of 2 heats, Maria Constantin of Romania. She's had good history on this track. This is the Romanians' home base, but...
Well, the driver really struggled right there with Maria did. I don't think they had the hit cohesion there because she was pushing a bag of potatoes there. The cohesion of a bobsled start, they both have to hit at the same time. The driver's push bar and the brakeman coming off the back push handles.
She was 13th after the first heat, but she's 2200ths down already. Her best result on this track was last year, 14th.
This is a much better drive, too, than the first run.
It's not. She's lost a quarter of a second already.
Visually, it's a better drive. Her first run, she was a little sloppy. She was in that section of the field where the track seemed to got faster.
Yeah, she came out 20th, so the snowstorm had definitely stopped by that stage. The track's much cleaner now, actually.
Yes, the weather's holding on for us.
2200ths back.
Down
she's
to 17,
coming down.
She's coming, 130, great speed. Look at this uphill section shot. really provides a great profile of the track. 58.21. So she's 600 slower. Paul Niagu looks on. This is a pretty good run for this young athlete.
At the moment, in 3rd place with 12 to go.
Track and field emphasis, her break, but a 21-year-old junior world champion in triple jump and long jump.
Yeah.
Watch the back end of the sled. This drift tap before the Kreisel, and that sends you not into the perfect entrance. Slingshot effect out of Kreisel give you the speed on the bottom part of this track. Really slow up top till you get to that point.
Alexandra Rodionova of Russia is still our leader. The Romanians slipped 2 spots. Next up is Switzerland's Sabine Hafner. And Hafner with Eveline Rebsamen, her brakewoman, behind her.
The firecracker.
900s out of the top 10 after the first heat.
Pretty good considering the start time. 18th best start in the first run. She was in near the end of the heat when I said that track got faster. She took advantage of it. 582, pretty similar start. Fairly quiet exit of curve 1 is what you need. Look how low she sits in the cowling.
Well, she was a little bit perplexed in North America, didn't really have the feel for the tracks, but now she's back on more familiar territory in Europe. Don't forget, she returned to the World Cup last year after 5 seasons off the ice, so it takes a while to get that familiarity with the tracks back.
Yeah, she went from being an electrician, mistake there, and then she, after 2010, she went and got her electrical engineering degree, which is where she was for 5 years, and the passion for the sport, that brought her back out.
This is close, 300ths of a second in it.
That wasn't a very good entrance to 9. Should cost her the speed. She's going to need 129 middle speed down here. It's down to 3. Check the speed at the left. 129.3 slow.
Good exit.
This could be right to the 100th.
Better final corner.
6. She does find it.
She takes the lead.
The firecracker hangs in there. But the speed, it tells you a lot on this track. Going into that finish curve, going in uphill. She'll take that.
Yeah, it was a much cleaner entrance into the final corner as well than we saw from Alexandra Rodionova. And that all helped to add to that advantage. So she takes the lead with 11 to go. Looking for a top 10.
She was 10th last time out in Whistler.
Yeah.
This skid didn't do the slingshot part of the track. Doesn't help her. And down here, this is entrance into 9. That tap throws her in the middle of the curve 9. And boy.
Well, Whistler was the best result in the World Cup in her second career, let's say, because the first part, after a 5-year hiatus, basically you start again.
Well, she got 10th last year in the test in Pyeongchang, Korea, so she can drive. Just a start time issue.
500ths out of a top 10 spot in the first heat was Andrea Grecu, the second of the Romanian drivers, with Beatrice Pu, her brakewoman, and Grecu had really good run, but she slips, her hand comes off the handle there, so that'll hurt them at the start. And how does it hurt her focus?
Boy, watch out, she's on the wrong side of the curve going in. That causes her to almost tap the wall.
Well, that cost them a 10th in the start, plus loss of momentum will catch them further down. So 400s over Sabine Hafner as they sat down.
10 hundredths difference at the start. You have to be consistent in this sport. She's a tall athlete. You can see she's sitting up pretty good in that sled.
And this is the track she knows best. This is where they're based.
She also came late in the run when I found that a lot of sleds seem to be going quicker.
She was the last sled on the ice. Now she's back in the green with Sabine Hafner just in front. If she could get a top 10 here, what a feather in her cap that would be. She's not yet completed a full season as a driver.
Got potential, and she's late. 130.3, best speed of anybody.
Very good speed, 81 miles an hour. She leads by 200ths of a second.
Look at the Romanians.
Yeah.
They work with such little revenue. They do so much. 17th, 16th, and 17th, their first 3 events of the year. And this might be a personal best, Mark.
This is like her 7th or 8th World Cup. I think she only did 3 or maybe 4 last year. But you know, the hand slips.
But we talk about the need for cohesion at the start, where the driver and brakeman hitting it at the same time.
Misses the bar and almost falls.
Falls, really. Some athleticism to stay up.
And that
Look at
shows
this.
how
Look at her
hard,
leaning on the sled.
Shows how hard she's attacking the bar, that if your hand doesn't get there, you overrun the handle.
Look at this flop, too. But she, you know, it didn't really affect her entrance.
She held on. 10 down, 10 to go. Andrea Greco of Romania, the race leader on a career personal best here in Winterberg. Well, with snow in the air and weather incoming today, we're going straight on with our competition here in Winterberg. Anne van Nieuwenhuizen and Sophie Verkrijsen of Belgium. Both Belgian sleds in the top 10. These girls were 10th, 500ths of a second in hand over our current leader, Andrea Greco of Romania.
16th, 16th, and 23rd in North America. The 23rd finish, she crashed in the first run in Whistler. Went a long ways down the track, upside down, but she finished. She got through the finish line, so she didn't get a DNF and no points.
Those points might be vital.
Absolutely.
Well, she was 400ths in front of Greco when she sat down. She's opened that up to 800ths of a second.
And there's only 20 women's sleds that will appear at the Olympic Games. The top 3 countries in points will get 3 sleds. The next 5 teams will get 2 sleds, and the rest will get singles. So it's about points and results, and that's how important that finish was in Whistler. Even though on her head, she still got points.
Gap's coming back down, 900ths in front of Andrea Greco. This is for a place in the top 10, 700ths, one corner left. She'll have enough.
Barely.
80.3 just and lands in the lead. 58.07, the slide exactly the same time as Andrea Greco, so she lives on her first round advantage by 500ths of a second. She's in the top 10.
300 slower, but this is something they can celebrate. A top 10 for the Belgian Bullets.
This is effectively their home track as well. We're not in Belgium, but we're as close as you get.
Great start to their European swing.
Yeah. And that's what you need to build that confidence.
Up top, where they've got a deficient start time, and then they have this exit of curve 0. They should just call that the nemesis curve, because that was put in. Look at this late line here in the finish curve. That 0 curve was put in about 8 years ago, Martin, and they call it the 0 curve. They didn't want to affect the rest of the numbers of the track. And that curve causes a lot of havoc with the teams.
Well, there's the Belgian fans here in number. Lots of Dutch fans as well. But here's the second Belgian sled, Elfie Willemsen. And she was 700ths faster than her teammate in the first heat.
Okay, in the second of the Belgian Bullets, Elfie Willemsen had the best speed in the finish curve. That if anybody did, look how quiet she did. Came around curve 1.
Now, if she could find a 10th, she'd be in the top half dozen. That's a lot of time to find on such a short 1,300-meter track.
Medaled at least 3 times in the World Cup Tour. Last year and the year before. This year's had a rough start, especially in Whistler, where she crashed in Whistler. Boy, that was both Belgian teams crashed.
This is a really good run. 2,300ths ahead of Anne van Nieuwenhuizen. She was only 700ths ahead from the first heat. This is really
big speed here, 9.
Superb stuff from Elfie Willemsen.
130-plus speed you expect out of her.
She's going to be over 0.3 of a second clear at the bottom.
130.5. That's what she did in the first run.
This is a shot for the top 6.
57, 78, 2,200's better.
That would have left her in 5th place in the first heat.
Boy, considering the start time.
Well, she's 200ths of a second faster at the start, but that's a really big second run. It's 1900ths of a second quicker. Nobody around her has improved that much in their second heat.
Yeah, there's been 3/10 early on, but they were the ones caught in that snow drift in the first few sleds down. Elfie Willemsen, one of the queens of speed here, and she just proved it there.
That's a big run for her.
11th start in the first run. She finished in the 8th position. And down here, look at the transition. The exit of the curve is where you get off. The entrance is where you get on. She does it as good as anybody.
Happy with that. Elfie Willemsen, Sarah Ertz, the race leaders with 8 to go. Jamie Grubel-Poser, like the other American sliders, men and women, their sleds arrived last night after training. They've been training in all sorts of begged, borrowed equipment, from helmets and spikes and tracksuits to sleds and runners. The whole of the field has mucked in to try and get the Canadians and the Americans on ice in training, but This is the first time they've driven a sled here this weekend.
68 in the first run. 59.
Wow, that's better.
Whoa. That is the best start of the competition. And I think the Americans, you know, I can't believe, I've never seen a full team not have their sleds like the United States did this week. I've seen individual people have to train in a foreign sled and then race with no practice runs, but not the whole team, all 8 athletes.
2600's up. This pair got the bronze medal last year. Jamie won 2 years ago.
Pretty smooth lines all the way down the track.
3/10 ahead of Alfie Willemsen. Her first run was not really from the top draw, but now she's dialed into the feel of the BMW sled.
130 speed will be something that's positive. Doesn't have that 130 magic number, but she'll be the leader.
Shooting for the medals, 57.43. That's a big
boy,
run.
That's 50 100s better. Wow. The start was unbelievable.
By 1900s, that's the fastest run of the day.
And considering she didn't practice with her sled all week, pretty impressive.
Well, they ought to keep it away from her more often.
Great start. Asia Evans on the back, University of Illinois, track and field athlete. Wow, they must have talked to each other up there in the locker room and said, hey, we got to improve here.
Yeah,
boy, they did.
Jamie's going, I got this.
Watch the technique. It's so easy to take for granted, this start technique. Driver's got to get a quick look at the arms and the cohesion of the back for Asia Evans. And she's a big lady. She gets in there with that. Look at, you can barely see her back there. Perfect aerodynamic pose.
She has a hole in the floor that she falls into, clearly. That was a huge run from Jamie Grubel-Poser. Puts the pressure on the top 6 in front of her. First to go, Anna Kohler, the young German rookie, her first World Cup season with Erlina Nolte behind her.
Watch Nolte's technique getting in the sled. This is one of the better breakers. Look at this, how quick and down she is. If you give style points for technique getting in the sled, which is important, Erin Nolte would be in the top of the list.
I tell you what, Heather Moyse does it like she's in slow motion. I've never seen an athlete get in so gently.
And you have to get in, I always like to say, with cat-like movements.
Well, she's behind on the split times. 200ths of a second in it, now tying with Jamie Grubel-Poser. So the track is quicker and quicker today.
Watch the back end there, not bad. A little bit of skid, but she didn't tap on the entrance to Kreisel. Now watch this next curve. Does she tap the left side? No. 9.
300s back.
They could find that speed down here. They were deficient at the start compared to the Americans. 130 speed will give her a chance. Down to 6, 130 speed, doesn't have it.
So German-built FES sled, has she got pace at the line? Not enough.
So the Americans move up one more as expected, but Randy Spies likes that out of his Germany 3 driver.
That's because she's just gone 3/10 of a second quicker than her first run.
I like it.
That's a great improvement by anybody's standards.
Another young German pilot coming up with some decent start times. First year in the World Cup.
Well, she was tied with Alana Myers-Taylor, last year's winner after the first heat.
I think the Germans have finally found some drivers.
They found a
that
lot.
Could push. Yeah, look at the wild. Look at her shoulders turn like that.
She
not a good entry.
Gets in
that was
sideways.
not. That was her hand was too far back. She turned her shoulders. That wasn't a perfect clean entrance, and that might have caused her to do this. Look at this skid. So she wasn't in there clean enough to grab those D handles coming around that nemesis curve 0.
So we're in a tie for 6th position. Anna Kohler, the hometown queen, and Alana Myers-Taylor, who's won this race twice in the last 3 years and has not been off the podium here since 2012.
Well, 5:68 in the first run. Their teammates just went 5:59. Gibbs in 5:50.
Okay, here we go.
You know, both Americans must have just said, hey, we haven't practiced all week long. Let's just have a conservative start. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Lauren Gibbs, the volleyball player from Brown.
That's a really valid point, actually. They haven't leapt into these sleds at all, not in training. So,
very conservative, which is why they were back at 6th and 8th place.
1 or 2 steps fewer, maybe, just to make sure you get in.
Ooh, little tap before the Kreisel. Speed, not as good as her teammate, close.
2100s up becomes 2100s.
Yeah,
she's
lost
holding
a
the
little
lead.
bit back to that tap before Kreisel. That wasn't good there. 9, skidding 10.
Well, she may not be in the medals, but she'll be in the top half dozen here, Alana Myers-Taylor.
Still 29.8, decent speed. Look at the uphill curve into the finish through 57.28. She just went 6/10 better. That's the fastest time down of either heat.
Just as well, these bobsleds don't have rear view mirrors, or our German leaders would be looking in them now, seeing the Americans approaching.
Well, remember what I said in the first heat, the Canadians, Americans, Germans had the better start times.
Yeah.
The Americans turned the gas on here and they're, put the
And don't forget, the Germans, familiar with their kit, they've been training in it all week.
Yeah. And the Americans conservative in the first run. I don't blame them.
Yeah.
Second run, the athleticism took over, and that's why they're 1-2 on the top of the leaderboard with 6 sleds to go. This little drift here, boy, that could cost her. See the back end of the skid? Right there, going into 10.
Alana Myers-Taylor and Lauren Gibbs lead here in Winterberg. 15 sleds down, 5 to go. Alana Myers-Taylor, Jamie Grubel-Poser, 1-2 for the USA, and their former teammates, Jasmine Fenlater, Victorian, is up next. 5th in the first heat in her first World Cup race for Jamaica, with 4x100 world champion sprinter Carrie Russell on the back handles.
And you know what the name of the sled is? Cool Bolt. It's after Cool Runnings and Usain Bolt. How cool is that?
Well, that's 2 Jamaican sporting touchstones in one go.
Jasmine, great driver. Always had the lesser of the start times. Medaled on the World Cup Tour numerous times between 10 and 14. Competed with Lolo Jones at the last Olympics. She's just off the top 10. And she's dropping. She was in a perfect window for speed, and of course she had great starts, 571, but the Americans had 568, 69s. This time they had 550.
Well, Jasmine not in her normal Japanese-built sled. She's in a rented BTC sled. But she had a good first trip, quarter second back. If she's 3 places back in the top 8, that's a great debut for the Jamaicans.
Well, right on the 130, better speed than both American sleds, and she finishes third, drops 2. But let me say this, the good drive down, and that's the best finish ever by a Jamaican in 2-man bobsledding.
Male or female.
And 4-man bobsledding.
Yeah.
And
well, you know,
Dudley Stokes is here. They didn't show him.
Dudley we just saw him in the leaders box. So there's Joe Manning, who's helping with the coaching.
He's the original driver of that 88 legendary team. There's the name, Mr.
Mr. Cool. Slightly disappointed that there wasn't a lucky egg, but you know.
Why, now this is the rookie debut from this track and field superstar. Look at her get in, her feet got a little crossed up. Look at her arms, though. Hopped in a little hard, but, you know, considering it's her World Cup debut, you're obvious that her track and field instincts are really going to pay off for this Jamaican program right here.
Well, this is rehab for her, in fact, from surgery. Her coach suggested she went bobsledding as rehab. There's Jasmine, and that is a really great run. Guaranteed top 8 finish for Jamaica. Feel a rhythm, feel the rhyme. Into the top 4, this is Kati Bile of Austria with Jennifer Onosanya behind her, and Bile has not lost a race that she started all year in the junior level at Europa Cup.
567 in the first run, 65, very impressive. Her teammates getting in the 85 starts. So he's really coming on.
And she was in a battle for silver, where 3 sleds are covered by 0.02 of a second.
Jennifer Osana, her brakeman, she's a javelin thrower. Wants to become a makeup artist when she gets through with all this sliding down mountains.
Yeah, can't blame her. Warm, dry, safe. 100th off the lead of Alana Myers-Taylor, last year's race winner. Can't say enough about catching Bile.
200, she's holding on. This is decent speed, too.
It's only her 4th World Cup start in her career.
Gonna need 130 speed to take over the lead. 600's back. Speed, 129. That's not the number she needs.
She's going to be
still a
second.
Great finish.
Second in the line. Wow.
Wow, beats Jamie Grubel-Poser. That's a great result for this young Austrian. Watch her celebrate.
2/10 quicker than her first run down.
Now this this is, you know, whether the Austrians qualify 2 sleds for the Olympic Games is to be determined. It's that ranking. The top 3 nations in points get 3. The next 5 nations get 2.
Second with 6 to go. This will be her best World Cup result by a factor of at least 10 places. Yeah. What a great run from Kappe Bile and Jennifer Onosanya.
Races within races.
You've earned the dirty burger tonight. Well done. 3 to go. Olympic champion Kaylee Humphries was Melissa Lotholtz, twice a winner this season already for Canada, and 1 silver medal in Park City. And she is only 1200ths off the lead here in Winterberg.
Well, her goal was always to stay close to the Americans at the start, and she did in the first run. The Americans had 68, 69, and she had a 69. But the Americans just went 550. Alana Myers at the bottom. Oh. Lauren Gibbs. So this is going to be she's going to need a 565 here.
The Americans might be in her rearview mirror. 1200ths away from the lead in the first heat, but 2 German sleds to beat.
There's the 65, and there's a much better exit of the 0 curve. That nemesis curve, I call it. She was perfect the rest of the way down the track in the first run, and she's got a lot of lead right now. 700ths deficiency. That's relative to the start.
Plus, she's got the experience. The 2 German sliders in front of her, relatively inexperienced. You've got the Olympic champion breathing down your neck.
Here she comes, 600ths back. Same, better speed, in fact, of the American sled here on the exit. No mistake there. And, ooh, little touch at 9, 500ths. This is going to be right to the 100th of a second. If she gets that 130 speed at the bottom, she could be the leader.
Going to be very close.
I don't know. 131, that's huge speed. No one's had that type of speed.
She was fastest in the first heat. She's fastest again, but...
How does Alana Myers win a medal without practicing with her sled?
Well, there you go.
Well, this is could still be a medal here for Kaylee.
Yep. Alana Myers-Taylor leads Kaylee Humphries and Kappe Bile, and the 2 remaining sliders from Germany have got to hold their nerve.
1500 she got beat at the start in the second run by Alana Myers. That's all her goal is, to stay close to the Americans. She did in the first run, not in the second run. She didn't get beat down the track. She got beat at the start. And the speed she had, no one has had speed like that today on this track. You know, she is accomplished. She used to be the best starter in the field. Now, this might be her only mistake, that little tap there before 9. But Kaylee Humphrey, short track. They don't look happy.
Nope. Never happy unless they're winning, and that's the athlete mentality.
Wow, this is a big heat for Jamaica.
Yeah, Annika Jacek returning to World Cup action now, fine, fit, and healthy.
62, decent start. Not a great exit out of 1, not bad, but you know, she's in the plus
400s in front, and that is going to vanish because they started 1200s slower. 500s, ooh!
That's a good sign right there for the Germans. This young driver here has impressed me with her development in the last couple of years. I think she's really got the eyes and hands to do what the Germans want.
Skiddy into the Kreisel, she was 900s up. What's she got when she comes out?
Big speed is what she had there. Little tap there.
Still 900s.
Yeah, great speed there. Oh, almost tips over. Now the same problem in the first run, or she'd been the leader.
Silver medalist last year behind Alana.
Speed, 130, 129 flat. This is going right to the 100.
Insanely wild lap. She rolls. There's the first we've seen.
She still finishes, no doubt, but still, that has happened. We've seen people do that and win the race here.
2600s faster than her first heat.
But Alana Myers is guaranteed at least a silver medal. Jamaica has made the same mistake both runs on the exit of 9. She would have won the race if she didn't have that mistake in 9. The mistake in the finish curve where she tipped over is right on the electric eye.
Yeah. We've seen a 1-2 for Switzerland in 2-man. Rico Peter rolled out to take the lead, and then Bert Hefty rolled out to win the race ahead of him. You can see Alina Nolter and the other German girls down there. So Annika Jacek, you can see her facing us.
So she crashed and she wins at least a bronze medal.
She's got a head full of ice. Shoulder. And there is Mariama. She looks okay.
They're looking right in the eyes.
Jamie Grubel-Poser down there. So is Asia Evans. You know, Winterberg, quote, one of the easier tracks.
Look at this, almost tips over at 9. Same mistake. Now she goes way in the middle at 10. She's late here, and she's late 150, 200 meters later here in the finish curve. And there's the electric eye. She tips over right in the electric eye. I don't know if the crash cost her the 200s or not. I mean, dealing with hundreds of seconds, could have gone either way, could have been a tie.
And that's why she was hanging it out around the final corner for the speed.
Listen, this girl has improved every time down, and she'll take this to the, the bank. And there's Drazic. She looks a little stunned.
She looks a bit knocked about, Annika Drazic. Well, the medics will take care of her.
Aaron Nolte walking in front of us.
Well, welcome back to World Cup bobsledding. Little smile on her face, but...
now there's another German sled at the top. What is she thinking?
She's thinking, I can win this.
She does what she did in the first run.
Well, you saw the look of horror on the faces of Alana Myers-Taylor and Lauren Gibbs. There's very few bobsledders who don't know what it's like to crash like that, and it's a very dramatic thing to see and to be part of.
Plus the snow's coming in.
High drama here in Winterberg, and a huge chance for Stephanie Schneider of Germany.
67 in the first run. She's going to have to get 63, 62. The Americans at a 550 start. It's really 558. Big improvement for the German sled too. Schneider, her first ever World Cup medal, came in Lake Placid at the opening World Cup this year.
She took the bronze here 3 successive years, 2 with Annie Schneiderheinze, and then in the World Championships with Kathleen Martini as a brakewoman. She could win her first race here as a driver. Last year she didn't compete.
Huge lead.
She crashed in training.
Huge lead.
This is going to be an epic story if Stephanie Schneider can hang on to this.
Great promise for the German program. She's 200 meters away from a victory.
Oh, she's late. She's got to hold it together, but she is driving away from the world champion on this track in 2015, Alana Myers-Taylor. It's her first ever win for Stephanie Schneider, and what a win for the German driver.
Wow, what she went through last year.
They're so excited by the start. They started a 10th quicker despite that delay, and she drove away to win by 26 hundredths over Alana Myers-Taylor, who gets another silver, has yet to win this year. So our third different race winner.
That's a gold medal for Alana Myers.
That is a huge, huge win. Yeah, Alana hadn't had her sled until race day, but that is a huge, huge win for Stephanie Schneider.
Crashed last year in Whistler twice, broke her collarbone. They brought her back a month later here in Winterberg, crashed in training, broke the collarbone again, brought her into the World Championships late in the year last year. The Germans have a lot of hope for this athlete, and she just proved that she can do it. Great start.
Yeah, with Lisa Marie Buchwitz, they had that delay after their teammates crashed, and they still started nearly a 10th faster. Lisa Buchwitz knew that she needed to give Stephanie Schneider everything, and she did. That is a great, great drive from Schneider under pressure to go away and beat everyone, leave them standing.
What a race. Great race.
It was a great race. Look at that. 2800s cover the top 3. Katie Bile 5th. Stunning for her. Jamaica 7th. What a great result for her. The 2 Belgians 9th and 10th. Mariama Yamanka 3rd after that crash by just 200ths of a second. Andrea Grecu 11th. What a great run for her as well. Some really good stories in the 4th race of the Women's Bobsleigh World Cup in Winterberg. Well, it's been a snowy, windy weekend, but...
Yeah, but listen, it was a great race.
Yeah.
The weather had a little bit of factor in it. In fact, the track was got faster in the second run.
Yeah.
Made for some good storylines. But Winterberg, always talk about close racing, and It's not a surprise that a German sled won here. They've won here before, but not as, the last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, there's Stephanie Schneider, and closest to us, Lisa Buchwitz. So Schneider, bronze with Schneider Heinze in 2012-13, and again with Anya 2013-14. Bronze in the World Championships with Kathleen Martini in 2015 on this track. Then she started driving, crashed in training last year, wins gold, going away by 2600s here. That's a country mile. But Lana Myers-Taylor and, well, Lauren Gibbs wouldn't have been in their rented sled because the sled was heavier than their BMW and they couldn't have made weight.
Unbelievable.
I was saying to Gibbs, is it going to happen? And she said, not if our sleds don't turn up. I can't race. I have trouble making weight in our sled.
I tell you, Alana Myers is such a focused athlete. For her to overcome the challenge of not using her sled all week, they have a start time in the first run is equal to most of the field. The Germans outstarted them. In the second run, she goes from a 5.68 to a 5.50.
Yep.
That's just, they were conservative in the first run. The second run, they went with it. She would have done that in both runs. She would have won this race going away.
Yeah. Well, Jamie Grubel-Poser, same deal.
Same thing.
Cautious first heat, gets in and gets it on with the second heat, top 6 result. So Alana, who won twice in the last 3 years. Jamie, who won in the intervening year. The last German to win here, by the way, Sandra Kiriasis with Franziska Fritz, who's still breaking. That was 2013-14. So Stephanie Schneider keeps that run, or starts a new one. Snowy Winterberg in Germany, the venue for race 4 of the BMW IBSF Women's Bobsleigh World Cup. Kaylee Humphries continues to lead the points. Alana Myers-Taylor closes in, so does Jamie Grubel-Poser. Mariama Yamanka and Stephanie Schneider leaps up the order from 9th place to 5th with her first career win. And what a win it was here in the snowy race in Winterberg. Andrea Grecu, great standout for her. And down on page 3 for the first time, you will see Jasmine Fenlater, Victorian, as a Jamaican slider, and Katy Bile scores her first World Cup points as well. Really good run for both of those sleds. Some of the standout stories, but no question about it, in the German media, the story will all be about Stephanie Schneider and Lisa Buchwitz leading after the first heat. And the track that she's not raced in the World Cup before, and she went away from the opposition to win by a quarter of a second.
Great start in the second run, but this young German athlete who the German Federation was really hoping for her to achieve success like this last year, but she crashed, broke her collarbone a couple different times. Here she is now, winner of her first ever gold medal.
Yep.
Might not be her last.
Alana Myers-Taylor, Lauren Gibbs, silver medal position. Mariama Yamanka and Annika Dratsek rolled out of the final corner to take the bronze, just 0.02 of a second shy. Yamanka and Dratsek took silver last year, ahead of Grubel-Poser and Asia Evans. And Alana Myers-Taylor won last year with Kerry Jones. Kerry's here as well, part of the huge roster of talent that US bobsledding has, but you've got to say that Germany has got strength in depth as well. There's Annika Dratsek on the right, first race back, ends it up on her head. Mariama Yamanka trying to look after her, though, in the sled as well. And they take the bronze medal. But there are your race winners for the first time. On the left in the yellow jacket, Stephanie Schneider. On the right, on the left, Lisa Buchwitz. On the right, Stephanie Schneider. As we look at them, yeah, there we go. And your bronze medalists, Mariama Yamanka and Annie Dratsek.
Representing Germany, Mariama Yamanka and Annika Dratsek.
So we kind of beat the weather this morning, or cheated the weather, whatever. As you can see, it is still snowing. And we have a two-man race to get through today as well. So we'll be hoping that conditions are at least favourable, if not gorgeous. But what a day to win for Stephanie Schneider on the right of your shot, and Lisa Buchwitz. Andreas Chartvetter, the Vice President of the IBSF, Vice President of the BSD, the Bundes German Sliding Federation. I can't remember, Schlitten. Yeah. So he's handing out the flowers. And there's two very smiley faces. And in the Veltens Ice Arena, the title sponsors also hand out big glasses of beer. You can keep the beer, but they want the glass back. I think Stephanie Schneider might be able to persuade them to give her that glass. Her first career win. Why wouldn't you want her to keep it? Well, there you go. What a race here in Winterberg for the Women's Bobsleigh World Cup. A week from now, they return to the ice in Innsbruck in Austria, and we'll be there. Join us, please. Meanwhile, from John Morgan, the IBSF TV crew here, and me, Martin Haven, it's Auf Wiedersehen from Winterberg.